This is your no bullshit guide to a happier life. Quick but not necessarily easy tips to help you squeeze every last drop of enjoyment out of your business and your life. My name is Gigi Calvert. I'm a coach, a business owner and a parent, and I'm so happy to be here with you. I do swear occasionally, as the title suggests, so pop in your headphones if I'm not safe for little ears. Ready to go? Let's do this.
Hi, I'm Anna Knight, and I help people make social change in the world without burning out or losing hope. Because the world needs your magic right now. But you know what else is magic? The membership I've just opened with your podcast host, Gigi. Gigi and I do really similar things, but in slightly different ways. We realised it would be epic if we brought our membership together. So this month we've opened the Real Life Resource Lab, which is your online coaching space, stuffed full of the resources you need. I'm talking practical tools, emotional support, thoughtful resources, and honest conversations. That's what Gigi and I are all about. Our tools are grounded in the theory of the research and our lived experiences. Because it's not about becoming someone new. It's about having the right tools and the right support to become more fully yourself. Head to realliferesourcelab.com/lab to find out more, or you can join us via the link in the show notes for this episode. Now back to Gigi.
Hello and welcome to this episode where we are going to be talking about using our power to show up for ourselves. Self-advocacy. We have talked about boundaries and what we want and how we can influence others. And self-advocacy brings a lot of that together. But for many of us, it's a skill that we were never taught in childhood. So as adults, when there is something we need or want, something we want to change, something we want to make happen for ourselves, we often feel like we only have two options. Those options are say nothing, be nice, be kind, or go raging. And neither is effective. Because, of course, saying nothing gets us nowhere, right? Being nice, being kind, hoping that someone's going to notice that we have a need, that's not effective at all. But neither is going in all guns blazing, raging, yelling. As soon as we shout at someone, their ears turn off and their fight or flight kicks in. But even if we're not shouting, just going in with aggression, with anger, that is a time when we have lost control and we're not going to get anywhere. But unfortunately, too often we feel like those are the options, right? If we've never been taught that we matter, if we've never been taught how to advocate for ourselves, then getting what we want can feel naughty, right? It can feel selfish. It can feel aggressive. Going after what we want, that can sound really aggressive. It can just feel so wrong. Because if we're getting what we want, we must have done something to hurt someone else, right? Someone must be losing out. Someone must now be sad. Because so often we were taught this kind of zero-sum game, right? Either our needs are being met or someone else's are. And if it's our needs that are being met, we're being selfish because that means someone else is missing out, right? Our needs being met is selfish, the end. We were taught this sort of weird way of looking at the world, like it's you or me. I get what I want or you get what you want. And, some people just go after what they want and they're selfish and aggressive. And other people just worry about what everyone else wants and they're lovely and nice and kind. Such a strange narrative if we think about it, right? Because actually there's a whole other truth to how we work as a society. But we weren't taught about how to meet needs as a group, how to work together to ensure that everyone's needs are met, how to respect and understand each other's needs and to respect and understand our own. And boy, can't we see that in the world right now? Can't we see that we were just never taught that your needs don't have to equal nothing for me and my needs don't have to equal nothing for you? It's very obvious that we were taught this weird way of looking at what everybody needs. And it would be so much better if we could understand how to meet needs as a group. But part of that is getting our own needs met. We are part of the group. We matter too, including ourselves in our own compassion, including ourselves in our own advocacy. So how do we do it? How do we advocate for ourselves? Well, in my experience, the most effective way to do it is to be clear, be brief, be repetitive, and be immovable. Oof, ooh, ooh, that sounds a bit strong, doesn't it? Sounds a bit strong, Gigi. Let me give you an example from the last few months of my life. So I find phone calls inaccessible. By that, I mean that if I'm on a phone call, I'm so uncomfortable that all I can think about is that discomfort and my communication skills disappear. So I don't do phone calls anymore. I say that. Yes, I still take calls from the boys' schools and from family members in an emergency, and I can handle that. My phone is set up, it only rings if it's certain people. Otherwise, it doesn't even ring. I don't have voicemail. You can't leave me a message. Basically, it's pretty obvious that I'd rather you didn't phone me. As a general rule, I don't do phone calls. Okay. So, what about when the DWP wanted to have a phone assessment with me about my universal credit? Or what about when Sky said to me that I could only cancel something over the phone? These are the kinds of phone calls that I definitely cannot do. Anything where I'm going to be questioned, where it's complicated, where money's involved, because that's triggering, where someone is going to be judging me, or I imagine that they are, where I need to have a difficult conversation. Nope, cannot do it over the phone. But these institutions and companies always make it sound as though there's no other option, right? That's what we do. That's how we do it. It's a phone call. It has to be a phone call. No, there's always another option. You just have to persuade them to realize that and persuade them they need to figure it out. So I was clear. Phone calls are inaccessible for me. I was brief. I didn't add anything as an explanation. I am autistic and phone calls are inaccessible for me is enough information, right? They don't need any more. They don't need why and what happens, and any other info would distract them from the point I'm making. The point is, phone calls are inaccessible for me. I was repetitive. No matter what they came back with, I reiterated that phone calls are inaccessible for me. That fact isn't going to change just because they've told me the way their organization works or how it's set up or what the problems are, or it doesn't change the fact. And I was immovable. Phone calls are inaccessible for me. So, what solution can you provide? Send it back to them. It's not my job to find a solution. I know that solutions already exist. Video calls are easy to manage, right? Emails work great. Texts are straightforward. Solutions are out there. So, what solution are they going to find? Because the fact that phone calls are inaccessible for me is not something I'm going to be flexible about. It's a fact. And guess what? What do you know? Guess what? Both times, alternatives were provided. Amazing. Look at that. Who knew? And yet there were so many times in those conversations where I could have let myself be persuaded that my needs couldn't be met, that they didn't matter, that they were too inconvenient. Nope. Clear, brief, repetitive, immovable. And we got there. And that's enough, right? The fact that I successfully advocated for myself, that's enough. That's brilliant. And my needs were met. That's great. But if we're thinking bigger picture, if we're thinking about ourselves and everyone else, not instead of, let's be honest, I also advocated for a lot of you. Because each time I get through to someone, it's going to make it easier for you to get through to them when you have the same issue. Because none of us is unique in our needs, right? So whatever we get for ourselves, we're paving the way for people with similar or the same needs to get it for themselves too. The next time one of these people is told, phone calls are inaccessible for me, well, they've heard it before now, right? They're like, oh yeah. And the more they're told it, the more they might think to themselves, maybe we should just provide alternatives so we don't have to have these boring conversations anymore. That is how we change the world. That's how we make progress. That's how systems change, because we are immovable. That is power. And all of this season, we're talking about stepping into our power, right? Was I an inconvenience for the people who were trying to do their jobs? Absolutely. Yes, I was. And this is the other key point. Whether it's advocating for ourselves, getting our needs met, putting boundaries in place, or doing some self-care, we really wish we could do it without inconveniencing anyone else, right? That's the dream. I'm really sorry, folks, but it's not possible. But guess what? We're not an inconvenience. We are people with worth and value. How often does the world inconvenience you? Yeah, exactly. Give some of it back. Not because you're being petty or unpleasant, but because what you need is important. And when people see you being firm and standing tall, they learn from that. They learn how to do it for themselves. There's that awful phrase that does the rounds, isn't it? In a world where you can be anything, be kind. Ugh. We have a world full of people trying to be nice and be kind. And what that leads to is resentment. And that resentment then boils over. And we see the kinds of vicious rows and divisions that are plaguing social media. Because when people don't advocate for themselves, they're going to be in no mood to advocate for or support anyone else either. If we want less division in this world, more support, more solidarity, it starts by getting our needs met. Meet our own needs, and we'll have capacity to show compassion and love for others, even when they're inconveniencing us, even when they're asking a lot of us, even when they're making our lives difficult. Making each other's lives difficult is what community is all about. If my friends never inconvenience me and I never inconvenience them, we wouldn't be friends. We'd just be people who sent each other occasional memes on WhatsApp. Asking something of people and giving something to people is society, but it has to cut both ways. If we're always giving and never receiving, if we have no boundaries and don't show ourselves that we have any value, that leads to frustration and anger and hurt. And the only way we will receive is if we ask. We start by asking politely, gently, compassionately, and we hope that our needs will be met the same way, gently, compassionately, enthusiastically. But if they're not, we do not need to get angry. We do not need to be aggressive or unpleasant. We just need to be clear, brief, repetitive, and immovable. Is that appropriate in all circumstances? No, of course not. But I know my audience. I don't think I have many listeners who are already out in the world demanding everything of everyone and being immovable. You lovely people find it incredibly hard to admit to, notice, and speak up for your needs. So I want you to practice clear, brief, repetitive, and immovable. Because in a world where you can be anything, I beg of you, be effective for yourself and for others. Too many people are kept small by the rule that they have to be nice. Be effective. It is far better, far more fulfilling, far more powerful, and far more likely to create change than all the pointless niceness, which I can't say that word without using that voice, being nice, than all the pointless niceness there is in the world, right? Be effective. That is how we will squeeze every last drop of enjoyment out of life. I shall speak to you next time. Thank you so much for listening. It's great to have you along for the ride. Have you joined my membership yet? The Real Life Resource Lab is full of practical support for real life, not the shiny picture-perfect versions we think we should have. It's a warm, practical membership for people who are tired of feeling overwhelmed, disconnected, burned out, or stuck in the endless loop of knowing they want life to feel different, but not quite knowing how to make that happen. And the best bit? It's hosted by not one, but two amazing coaches, me and the audacious Anna Knight. Head to realliferesourcelab.com/lab to find out more, or follow the link in the show notes. See you in there.